The sniper who waited 72 hours without moving. He didn't move for 3 days. Not once. Not to eat. Not to sleep. Not even to swat away the ant crawling across his cheek. For 72 hours, in freezing snow, one man waited for a single moment. A moment that would decide life, death, and the future of hundreds. His name was Mikhail Ivanov. A sniper. A ghost in the snow. And this is the story of the man who became the definition of patience. Even the wind seemed afraid to disturb this moment. His heartbeat slowed until each thud sounded like distant drum beats echoing somewhere deep inside his chest. He had trained for this. To disappear into the landscape. To become less than a shadow. To forget his body existed. 72 hours. No sleep. Little water. No movement. Not even to swat away the ant crawling slowly across his cheek. Some men break in minutes. Some in hours. Most long before a full day passes. But he remained, because in the distance, barely a shimmer through the leaves and rising heat, was a man whose life would change everything. A commander. A strategist. The one decision-maker who turned hundreds of soldiers into chess pieces. And the sniper had one task. Wait. Wait until the moment when breath, instinct, patience, and inevitability aligned into a single line drawn in silence. No heroism. No glory. No celebration waiting. Just a trigger pull. And a life ending without a word. The sniper's eyes didn't blink. He didn't allow himself that luxury. He had become the earth beneath him. He had become stillness. Snow is not quiet. Not truly. When the world freezes, sound bends in strange ways. Soft, distant echoes carry farther, and every movement feels louder than it should. Yet on this frozen field, silence ruled like a king. The sniper lay half-buried in white frost, his uniform dusted with snow so perfectly that he looked like a fallen piece of the landscape. He was 23 years old, barely old enough to understand love, yet old enough to understand death. His name was Mikhail Ivanov, though the battlefield cared nothing for names. Here, men were known only by accuracy, endurance, and whether they lived long enough to become a rumor. Ahead of him, across the frozen expanse, a small wooden village sat quiet. Smoke rose in thin threads from chimneys. The only sign of life, inside one of those houses, was the man he had to kill, a German officer, responsible for the deaths of hundreds of civilians. A man known only by whispers. Der Wolf. The Wolf. Coal bit at Mikhail's lips until they cracked. He could taste iron. Whether it was blood or the metal of the air, no longer mattered. He had crawled for 14 hours to reach this position, an inch at a time, sometimes waiting 5 minutes, just to move the length of a fingernail. Because one missed sound, one broken twig, one breath too loud, and the wolf would disappear again. Mikhail exhaled slowly, the steam rising in a thin ghost above him, barely visible. He counted his heartbeat. 1, 2, 3. His finger rested near the trigger. Not on it. Not yet. The shot was not ready. And so he waited. Because the first lesson of a sniper is cruel. Patience kills faster than bullets. Before the war, Mikhail had hands meant for creation, not destruction. He was a carpenter's apprentice in a small village near Smolensk. His world had smelled of sawdust, warm bread, and river water. He could tell the age of a tree just by touching its bark. He could smooth wood into something beautiful, with only a knife and patience. But war takes gentle hands and teaches them how to kill. The memory came to him now, unwanted, but persistent. His village burned in winter. The fire didn't roar. It crackled, quiet, like a whisper of something inevitable. He remembered the screams, the running, the smoke so thick it turned the world red. He remembered holding his younger brother's shoulders, small, trembling, as they hid behind a collapsed fence. He remembered the wolf, not as a rumor then, but as a face, standing tall in a long gray coat, gloved hands behind his back, watching the flames with a calm expression. No rage, no cruelty, just a cold, calculating certainty that some lives simply did not matter. And when Mikhail's brother tried to run, a gunshot, a single, precise gunshot, the same precision that Mikhail now held in his hands. His brother fell into the snow, red, blooming slowly, like a flower opening in time-lapse. Mikhail learned two things that day. 1. Evil does not always shout. Sometimes it watches quietly. 2. Patience is the greatest weapon a man can hold. The memory passed. The snow returned. The silence reclaimed him. His finger rested near the trigger again. But he did not move. Not yet. Because the distance between revenge and justice is measured in the width of a heartbeat. And he would not waste a chance. Not after everything. Not after him. The wind shifted. It was subtle. Just a faint change in direction. But for a sniper, it was enough to mean life or death. Snowflakes no longer drifted lazily downward. They sidestepped now, sliding sideways across the frozen field. Mikhail felt the shift before he saw it. The world's rhythm had changed. Then, footsteps. Soft, cautious, measured. A German patrol. For soldiers. Rifles slung low, scanning the tree line. They were not wandering. They were searching. One of them stopped. His eyes narrowed. He stared directly toward where Mikhail lay, though he couldn't possibly see him. Not unless Mikhail breathed too loudly. Not unless he blinked too hard. Not unless. The soldier took a step forward. Mikhail's heart slowed. Not sped up. Slowed. A sniper's heartbeat becomes a metronome under pressure. He let the cold take him. Let his body sink deeper into the earth. Let himself vanish. The soldier approached. Boots crushing new snow with slow, deliberate crunches. 5 meters. 4. 3. Mikhail's trigger finger twitched. Not to shoot, but to resist shooting, because one bullet meant the wolf would vanish. Forever. The soldier paused. His breath fogged the air in front of him. A small cloud of life in a world of white. He stared. Right over Mikhail. Right through him. Then, a shout in German from across the field. A voice calling the patrol to move on. The soldier hesitated, turned, and walked away. The snow swallowed the sound. But the tension did not fade. Mikhail's muscles burned from staying perfectly still. His lips were cracked. His fingers numb. His right eye stung from dryness and cold. But the house was still there. The wolf still inside. And the shot had not yet presented itself. So he waited. Time began to dissolve. Minutes felt like hours. Hours like days. But patience was the blade that would cut clean, and he was sharpening it with every breath. The door of the house opened. Not fast, not dramatic, just a quiet, deliberate swing. The way someone moves when they believe the world already belongs to them. A tall figure stepped out. The coat was the same as in Mikhail's memory. Long, gray, decorated with polished insignia that caught faint winter light. The posture was unmistakable. The wolf. But he was not alone. 2 German soldiers dragged a man into the open snow. A villager. Thin, weak, no weapon, no uniform. Just worn boots and fear in his eyes. Mikhail's breath froze in his throat. Not because of the cold, but because the scene was too familiar. A repetition. A ghost. The past replayed in real time. The wolf did not shout. He didn't accuse. He didn't speak at all. He simply nodded. One of the soldiers raised his rifle. The villager's knees buckled. His hands trembled. He tried to speak. A plea, a prayer, a final word. But his voice cracked in the cold. A gunshot. Sharp. Short. Precise. The villager collapsed into the snow. Blood spreading like ink on parchment. The wolf exhaled slowly, as if releasing tension. As if satisfied. Mikhail's vision tunneled. The rifle stock dug into his shoulder. His finger hovered over the trigger. This was the moment. The one he had seen every night in his mind. But his finger did not pull. Not yet. Because the wolf was not alone. For guards. 2 officers. And a clear line of fire 2 exposed. If Mikhail took the shot now, he would die before the bullet landed. Revenge demanded the right moment. Not just the right target. So he swallowed the tremor in his chest. And he waited. The cold pressed closer. The world held its breath. Because patience was the weapon, and vengeance needed to be perfect. Night crawled across the snow like ink spreading across paper. The world dimmed. Shadows lengthened. The cold deepened from sharp to unbearable. Mikhail's stomach ached with emptiness. His lips felt numb. His fingers no longer belonged to him. But he did not move, not even when he heard the sound. At first, it was distant, a soft, low cry carried on the wind. Not human, not mechanical, something older, something that had survived war, famine, ice, and time. A howl, long, slow, mournful, then another, closer. Mikhail's breath froze in his throat. Wolves, real wolves, drawn by the scent of fresh blood in the snow. The villager's body, unburied, was a signal to the hungry. Mikhail's eyes shifted, only slightly, just enough to see movement near the tree line. 3 shapes, then a fourth. Their fur blended with the darkness. Their eyes glowed faintly, reflecting moonlight. They approached slowly, not rushing, not desperate, but confident. Predators who feared nothing in this frozen world. One of them stopped just meters away. Its nose lifted, inhaled. It smelled him. Mikhail's heart tightened. He could not move. He could not force them away. He could not fire. The sound would expose him. So he became smaller than the snow beneath him. No fear. No sound. No motion. Only patience. The wolf stared. Its breath fogged the air. Their faces were inches apart. 2 hunters in different worlds, recognizing one another. Then, a gunshot. In the village. The wolves flinched and turned their heads. The wolf's soldiers were firing at nothing. Celebration shots. Careless. Drunk on power. The wolves fled back into the dark. Mikhail did not blink. Not even then. Because to survive war, you cannot be afraid of monsters. You must simply learn to outweight them. Sleep is not just rest. It is identity. Without sleep, the world loses shape. Edges blur. Memories slip. Thoughts melt into visions. And Mikhail had not slept in 3 days. The snow no longer looked like snow. It shimmered in waves. Like water. Like breath. Like something alive. His eyes burned. Every blink was a fight. His heart thudded slow, heavy, distant, as if it belonged to someone else. Then, voices. Not spoken. Not whispered. Remembered. His brother's voice. Soft. Young. Warm. Mikhail, you're still here? Mikhail didn't move. He couldn't. But his eyes widened just slightly. The snow beside him shifted. Not physically. In his mind. And there he was. His brother. Small. Barefoot in the snow. Unharmed. Smiling the way he did before the world changed. You didn't come back, the boy said. Not accusing. Not angry. Just sad. Mikhail's throat tightened. He wanted to speak. To say something. Anything. But any movement meant death. So he said nothing. The boy knelt beside him. No footprints in the snow. No breath in the air. A memory, not child. You think killing him will fix it, the boy said softly. Mikhail's fingers twitched. Not toward the trigger. Toward the memory of a hand he could never hold again. I don't need you to punish him, the boy whispered. Silence. I needed you to stay. The world squeezed around Mikhail's chest. A weight not of cold, but of grief. The vision flickered. Snow returned. The field returned. The pain returned. The boy was gone, but his words remained. The rifle felt heavier now. Not physically, spiritually. Revenge had always been simple. Now it was something else. Something heavier. Something harder. But the wolf was still there. And the shot would still come. And Mikhail would still take it. Not because he wanted to, but because he had nothing left. Dawn returned like a slow breath. The sky lightened from black to blue, to the cold, washed gray of winter. The village stirred. Boots crunching snow. Metal clinking against metal. Voices speaking clipped German commands. And then, the door opened again. The wolf stepped outside. But this time he was alone. No guards. No officers. Just him. Mikhail exhaled. Slow. Controlled. Silent. This was the moment he had waited 72 hours for. He shifted the rifle. Just a fraction. Bringing the wolf's chest into the crosshairs. And that's what happened. His hand trembled. Not wildly. Not visibly. But enough. The crosshair swayed. A slow, delicate wobble, like a leaf moving on still water. His heart was beating too fast. His breath too shallow. His muscles too starved of rest. He tried to force stillness. His mind screamed hold. His body refused. The wolf turned his head slightly, almost as if he felt the aim. Mikhail's vision blurred. The scope shimmered. The wolf became two, then one, then two again. Panic rose. Sharp, hot, violent. In his chest. He could miss. After all of this. After everything. He could miss. His brother's voice returned. Not as a hallucination this time, but as memory. A soft echo. Slow down. Mikhail inhaled through cracked lips. Slow. Measured. Controlled. He counted his pulse. 1, 2, 3. The crosshair steadied. The wolf stepped forward, his breath rising in a pale cloud of white. Mikhail's trigger finger tightened. His trembling stopped, not because he was strong, but because he had nothing else left. He exhaled, a long, soft breath that seemed to carry his whole life with it. And he fired. The rifle cracked, a sharp, clean sound that sliced through the winter air. The wolf jerked, not backward, but sideways, as the bullet tore into his shoulder. Not the heart, not the lungs, not the end. A wound, a warning. His body twisted, his coat flared, his breath burst in white clouds of shock. Mikhail's eyes widened, not in fear, but in disbelief. He missed, not because his aim was wrong, but because the wolf had shifted at the last possible second, as if he felt death approaching. The wolf staggered, one hand clutching his shoulder, blood seeping into the gray fabric like ink and snow. Then he ran, not in panic, not in desperation, but with the steady, disciplined speed of a man who had survived death before. Shouts rang out. German soldiers scrambled. Boots pounded the frozen ground. Commands echoed across the village. Mikhail, his mind whispered, "You have seconds." He moved. For the first time in 72 hours. He moved. His limbs screamed. Muscles locked. Bones resisted. The ground, once his shelter, became something he had to separate from. He pushed himself up, slowly, painfully, like a man rising from his own grave. The world spun. Snow blurred. Sound warped. He steadied himself. His rifle. His breath. His purpose. The wolf was disappearing behind the corner of a house, leaving a trail of blood on white snow. Mikhail's heart did not race. It sank, because he understood. This was no longer a sniper's war. This was about to become something far more dangerous. A hunt, on open ground, against a wounded predator. And wounded predators are the most lethal. Mikhail stepped forward. One step, then another. Every movement hurt. Every breath felt stolen. But he moved anyway, because revenge had survived the cold. It had survived the hunger. It had survived the wolves. It had survived the hallucinations. And now, finally, it demanded a price. He followed the trail of blood, into the silent, waiting village. The hunt had begun. The village was not large. Just a few houses, a stable, a small well. The ordinary bones of ordinary lives. But now it felt like a maze built for death. Mikhail moved between the buildings, rifle raised, steps slow but steady. His breath fogged the air in front of him. A visible signal, a glowing target, but he had no choice. A shout from the right. A German soldier rounded the corner, rifle raised. Mikhail fired first. The recoil ripped through his shoulder, but the soldier dropped instantly, face first into the snow, arms falling limp at his sides. Another shout. Footsteps. Mikhail ducked behind a low stone wall, just as bullets shredded the edge of the wooden fence beside him. Splinters burst. Snow kicked up. The sharp, metallic snap of gunfire rang cold through the air. Mikhail's heart remained slow, not calm, focused. He slid along the wall, inching toward the corner. He listened, breathing. Steps. Ragged shouting in German. One soldier was reloading. Mikhail stepped out. A single shot. The man fell. He didn't stop moving. Pain shot through his legs with every step. He had not walked in 3 days. His muscles screamed. His joints felt like rusted iron. But revenge was pulling him now. a force stronger than hunger, stronger than exhaustion, stronger than pain. He saw the blood trail again. Fresh, red, still warm. The wolf had gone into the barn. Mikhail's grip tightened around the rifle. The barn door creaked in the wind. The world felt like it was holding its breath. This was it. Not a perfect sniper's shot. Not a quiet victory in the snow. But a confrontation. Face to face. The end of a hunt. He stepped toward the barn. Each step slow. Each step heavy. Each step inevitable. The door was half open. Darkness inside. No sound. No movement. Mikhail raised the rifle and entered. The barn was dim. Light slipped in through cracks in the wood. Thin, cold lines that painted the air with silver dust. Mikhail's boots pressed into hay. Each step a whisper. He could hear it now. Breathing. Not fear. Not panic. Slow. Measured. A predator's breathing. The wolf was waiting. Mikhail took one more step. Flash. A gunshot exploded from the shadows. The bullet tore past his ear. Close enough that he felt its heat. Close enough that the world rang with white noise. Mikhail threw himself sideways behind a stack of hay bales. The barn suddenly alive with echoes and smoke. The wolf spoke. His voice was steady. Flat. Almost bored. 3 days in the snow. Impressive. Mikhail said nothing. His pulse hammered in his throat, but his hands remained steady. He listened. Listened for movement. A boot scraped. The wolf was circling. Mikhail's training surfaced. The voice of his old instructor. Do not chase the threat. Let the threat reveal itself. Silence stretched. Then, a flicker of motion. The wolf lunged from behind a support beam, pistol raised. Mikhail swung his rifle up. Too close to aim. They collided. The two men crashed into the ground. Hay exploding into the air, tools clattering off shelves. The wolf's pistol skidded across the floor. But the German was faster. Stronger. He drove his elbow down, striking Mikhail's ribs. Pain shot white across his vision. Mikhail grabbed a handful of snow-damp hay and shoved it into the wolf's face, buying one desperate second. 1 second was enough. His hand closed around his rifle. He didn't lift it. He jammed the barrel into the wolf's chest. Their eyes locked. The wolf's expression flickered. Just once. Not fear. Recognition. Mikhail pulled the trigger. The shot was deafening. The wolf's body went still. The barn fell into silence again. A silence that felt final. Mikhail remained kneeling there, breathing hard, hands shaking. Revenge had a weight to it. Heavy, cold, real. Outside, snow continued to fall, quietly, indifferently, as though the world had not just changed. He stood. His legs trembled. His vision blurred. But he walked out of the barn one last time. Not as a hunter, not as a soldier, but as a man who had finished something he could never undo. Mikhail stepped out into the snow. The storm had quieted now. Not a sound in the world. Only the slow drifting of white flakes, falling like ashes. He took one step, then another. But each step felt heavier than the last. The fight had taken more than rage from him. It had taken blood. A lot of it. His coat was dark and wet, but the cold had already numbed the pain. He looked up at the sky. Gray, endless. The same sky he had marched under, with his comrades beside him. Men who were now gone. Men who would never return. He whispered their names. Not with sorrow, but with completion. His legs finally gave way. He sank slowly into the snow. Not violently, not afraid. Just tired. The world grew soft around him. The snow gathered on his shoulders. His hair, his rifle, covering him the way it covered the trenches, the forests, the bones of thousands of soldiers, who had no graves. For a moment, Mikhail's eyes were open. He saw his home, his mother's hands, warm bread on a wooden table, laughter. Then, nothing. The snow fell, the wind whispered, and a hunter became part of the silent white field. No songs, no medals, no stories, just a man who walked too far for something he could never truly win. Revenge promises justice, but it takes far more than it ever returns. History remembers battles, but it forgets the hearts that fought them.